Bye. We are live at Giraffe Center, home of the Rothschild giraffe, and Winnie has had a very good morning. As you can see, the gentlemen have buffered us because one leg is like here, running. But good morning and welcome to your world. I'm your host, Mikali.
And my name is Winnie Luba. But yes, like Mikali said, we are outside, just as always. We usually are outside. But today, we're literally, what is it called? We are interacting with nature and with animals. And like Mikali said, we are here at the Giraffe Center. And if you've ever come here, then you usually know what happens, okay? You get a chance to feed the giraffes, come up close and personal. I wish I could send you footage of how Mikali was, what Mikali was doing. She was about to do some, while feeding the animals.
It's just like, yeah. And once you get, once you do the first 2, 3, 4 times, hi, Eddie. Hi.
Eddie has decided to join the conversation this morning.
Yes.
This is Eddie. He's male. And then we have Salma, and then we have Jock.
Yes.
Palekando. But again, we'll be talking about them as we continue with the conversation. And today on Mindful Monday, we're talking about nature's last stand, okay? And we're focusing on what we must do to protect our wildlife. And of course, today we'll be focusing on endangered, okay, wildlife. And we'll be telling you more about that on the conversation. But on my immediate right, we have Steve Itela, who's the CEO, Conservation Alliance of Kenya. Steve, it's so good to have you. First of all, when we were having this this topic, and you said, you know what, kwanza Mikali akitoroka, people will watch the show sana because she's so scared. But you're actually, buffering her. So that's good.
Moved. That was really sweet. Thank you, Steve. Steve was standing on this side, and I was being told by Jane, move closer, just move closer. Move closer to Eddie, and he just moved.
Mikali amesema mguu imekataa. The leg refuses. Thank you so much, Steve, for joining us. And we also have Emmanuel Ngumbi, who's the manager, Conservation, Education and Tourism Programs. Thank you so much for being with us. I know you're very busy. Yeah, Akwapa and Alicia Eddie, multitasking. Will you be able to hold the mic closer to you?
I believe I will.
Okay. Sasa naye atataka kuchukua the feeds, but it is okay. We'll continue with the conversation, but also, interact with the giraffes as well. They're very beautiful when you come up close, with them. But Steve, can we just understand, the state of wildlife, I want to say, here in the country?
Thank you so much for inviting me to the show. The state of wildlife in this country is not very clean.
All right.
Steve, hold the microphone a bit closer. Yes.
It's a bit good compared to other countries. And Kenya has put in quite a lot of conservation efforts to ensure that the wildlife is sustained.
All right.
And so while the state is good, there are also challenges that still need to be addressed. And so when I say the state is good, is I say that since the hunting ban in 1970s, we've seen quite an increase in the population, but not really to the level where it was prior to 1970. And so that's why I'm saying it's increasing. However, we're also losing smaller mammals because the focus has been on big mammals, and we kind of tend to forget about the smaller ones. So those ones are disappearing quite fast.
All right.
And the reasons are varied, but just allow me to mention 4 of them.
All right. Okay.
One of it is poaching and illegal wildlife trade. And when I talk about poaching, I'm talking about subsistence. That's where we are losing the small ones, like the dik-diks and all that. But also for the big mammals, we are losing quite a number of them because of rhino trade, horn trade, and also for the meat, like the giraffe.
All right.
Is very, very popular for the meat in many countries.
Yeah.
The other one is human encroachment and fragmentation. I think we've encroached into the space for wildlife, and so wildlife is no longer safe, and so now it's coming out where people are. Then we also have infrastructure expansion that is eyeing those spaces.
Yes.
And in addition to that, urbanization also is affecting.
Everybody wants to come to town.
Everybody wants to come to town. So we are seeing a lot of space for wildlife decreasing and diminishing. And this now brings us to the next conversation, which is the human-wildlife conflict. As you get into their space, they come out, then there tends to be conflict. But the other reason also that causes conflict is water. Water is very scarce, and quite a number of time both wildlife and livestock compete for water, and as you understand, because of climate change.
Yes.
And then it becomes necessary that we need to put a few measures into place. But overall, the situation is good.
Okay.
All right.
I like that because I like that you mentioned water because we'll be having that conversation
In
in
the
climate
second
change as
hour,
well
yes.
in the next hour. But Emmanuel, we are at home. This is your home. Please give us a bit of history about Giraffe Center and the status of things at your home. Yes.
Thank you, Kelly.
All right.
My name is Mr. Emmanuel Ngumbi. I'm in charge of the Tourism and Conservation Education Program at the Giraffe Center. And Giraffe Center is an entity of the African Fund for Endangered Wildlife Kenya, which was started way back in 1979 with an aim to rescue the endangered Rothschild giraffe from western part of Kenya, where they happen to lose their original habitat to farming. So the founders, the late Jock and his wife Betty, came up with an idea to fundraise and move the remaining members of the Rothschild giraffes, which by then were about 130.
Okay.
At first they brought 2 young ones to their property in Nairobi, and by 1983 they raised enough funds, and with the help of the game department, but then the Kenya Wildlife Service, they were able to move the remaining members to Lake Nakuru, some to Rumania, Lake Victoria, Nasalot, Mwea, and they increased the number in 1983 and opened this center to the general public. So basically, Giraffe Center has been existing to breed the Rothschild giraffes or to provide a safe breeding ground for the Rothschild giraffes. And after every 2 to 3 years, we translocate most of the young ones and put them back to the wild. But also to stabilize their gene pool. And that's part of our animals can sometimes become endangered, though they might be in one location. There.
And Eddie says goodbye.
Yeah.
I have had enough.
I almost ran away.
Sorry for that.
Almost
No,
ran
it's
away.
okay. We are in this space.
Yeah.
So, he's like, goodbye.
We breed and translocate most of the young ones, put
Yeah.
them back to the wild so that we can increase the natural population. But to stabilize the gene pool of the giraffes found at the center, we also bring 1 or 2 giraffes after 2 to 3 years. So from down 130 members of the Rothschild, which were left in Western Kenya, in actually specifically Soy near Eldoret.
Okay.
Today we're talking about 1,200 Rothschild giraffes in Kenya.
Whoa.
Interesting. What is it exactly about Rothschild giraffe? Because there are other types, right?
Yeah.
But we usually talk a lot about the Rothschild giraffe. So what is it? Do you want to give us like fun facts about them? You know, something that we need to know about, and what separates them from, say, the other species or the other types?
Okay, so Rothschild giraffes are our flagship species.
All right.
It's our species of interest in regard to the 3 subspecies of giraffes which are found in Kenya.
All right.
Because they're endangered. So we have them here for breeding, as I said. The other 2, their situation is not bad, but over the last 40 years, again, we're talking about the silent extinction. The numbers of the giraffes have been declining, and we lost about 40% of the total population of giraffes over the last 3 years. So we need to be worried.
Yeah.
Steve said the focus has been on the mega species,
Yes.
the mega fauna like the rhinos and the elephants, and we talk about silent extinction because nobody's talking about the giraffes. So they are declining in numbers, but nobody's raising the alarm about their numbers declining or being, you know, endangered and the like. And these giraffes are quite unique in many ways.
They are.
Because for them, if you look at them, you'll easily distinguish them from the other 2
All right.
because of their white stockings. From the knees down, they are not spotted,
Yeah.
and that's why they look as if they are putting on white stockings.
Yes, this one.
Again-
They're very clean. You know, when you came in, I'm like,
Yeah, we
he's
like
the
it
nature, but
because
he's very clean.
yeah. And unlike the other types of giraffes which we have in Africa,
Yeah.
the males of the Rothschilds
Yeah.
can boast of having 5 horns.
Oh, yeah?
And that's how they got the name Rothschild. This
5?
is the median horn, the normal pair of horn, and then the 2 swellings or bands between the ears, we make an extra pair of horn, which makes the horns to be 5 in number. So the name Rothschild, because Walter Rothschild was the first scientist in history to record down that males of this type have got 5 horns.
That is so cool. cool.
That is so interesting.
That is very interesting.
It is. And we're learning as we
Yes.
go. But we are focusing also on endangered species today. And I like that, Steve, you mentioned that we focused on the big mammals and forgot about the
small ones.
The small ones.
Yeah.
If we could just list some of the small ones that we forgot about, and we're just living our lives thinking they are with us, but they are leaving us. And what are we doing? What are some of the things that we're doing as humans to endanger them?
First of all, allow me to mention
Yes.
that among the 3 species of giraffe,
Yes.
all of them, the reticulated, the Rothschild, and the Maasai giraffe,
Yeah.
are now listed as endangered.
Oh, wow.
And they
Oh, the
are
3.
all
All
protected.
3. Okay.
All 3 are protected. Those are the ones that are found in Kenya.
Okay.
And like Emmanuel said, their populations are not stabilizing, they're increasing slowly over time, but we need to watch out. It's just a disaster. You just
Yeah.
need to trigger it a little bit and we lose all of them. Habitat conservation is very, very important, particularly for the giraffe. They are very, very sensitive. There's certain food that giraffes eat out there in the wild, not any other type. So we need to be very careful about the giraffe.
All right.
Okay.
Now, as I mentioned about the other species,
Yes.
allow me to mention, like, for example, the colobus monkey,
Oh.
the one that our Kenya Army band puts on.
Yeah.
All right, that's out of the colobus monkey.
Oh, interesting.
Yes,
Okay.
unfortunately, we don't talk about it
No, we don't.
and
No.
we don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
So the colobus monkey is one of those monkeys that people think it's a little bit scary, and what's the reaction? Get rid of it as quickly as possible. But it's a very, very peaceful monkey species and also endangered. The other one is the pangolin. Very small,
is that?
tiny. It's a mammal.
Okay.
It moves almost like a reptile.
Yes.
If it's not
Is it the
threatened.
same one? Remember during COVID and the whole conversation about COVID?
No,
and
forget that one.
Okay.
No, the pangolin
Okay.
is safe. Pangolin is
Just
safe.
saying.
They are safe in the country. But when it feels threatened, it
Yeah.
kind of rolls itself like a ball, and you can literally kick it.
Yes.
Oh,
And it moves. That's how it
yes.
protects itself.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it protects itself.
And what is endangering it? Is it reproduction? Is it habitat? What could be
The meat.
the meat?
Good, yes. And the scales.
I feel like we shouldn't be having this conversation. It's like we're giving leads.
But the meat is not consumed in the country.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why
That's
I'm talking about
the safe
the
side
whole
of it. The meat is
conversation.
not consumed in
Yes.
Kenya.
Yeah.
Kenyans, we should never be worried about having a shortage of meat. We have all the meat that we need in the country.
Yes.
Even the other one that the agricultural sector gazetted the other day, the white buffalo meat from Asia.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think Kenyans would appreciate that.
No.
Ours
Yeah.
is the best. So other than the pangolin, there are other smaller. Let me also just mention about the cats, cheetahs,
Okay.
leopards. You see, they don't hunt the big species; they go for the small ones.
Yeah.
So when we kill the gazelles, the antelope, the dik-diks, and all that, we affect the food chain of these predators.
All right.
So quite often, you'll find with destruction, cutting down of trees for charcoal and all that, our cheetahs and leopards populations have actually gone down very, very fast at a worrying rate.
Okay.
And again, their food chain also has gone down. So what do you expect? Disaster. Then cheetahs and leopards
Yeah.
are also under threat from what you call exotic pets. They're actually illegally moved out of the country to Arab countries, most of them.
Yeah.
If you saw what Bradley was doing in one of the videos, that's really what we are talking about.
Yeah.
But the survival rate of these cheetahs, when you move them out from the wild and take them to homes and treated like pets,
Yeah.
as I can tell you, the lifestyle actually has been researched. It's about 3 years. After 3 years, they die.
Oh no.
So the harvest of those cheetahs is also, and leopards is very, very high for the
and
pet.
tigers too. We see a lot of people actually keeping them as well.
Yeah.
Okay, not here in the country. I've not seen anyone.
yeah. We don't have
doing
tigers
that.
here.
Yeah.
We have lions and all
Yes,
that, but
yeah.
tigers are
We
in
don't have
Asians
those
Asian
mostly.
ones.
country,
Yeah.
I don't think tigers would thrive Kenya
Okay.
or Africa.
We'll come back to understand why. But so Emmanuel, there's a lot of conversation about, and even when we're coming, our videographer Gatwiri, she's very passionate about nature, and she was telling us, there's a difference between endangered and critically endangered.
Yes.
Do you want to help us understand your distinction between the two, and which ones now follow under the critically endangered? Because we've just talked about generally what species are considered more endangered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So endangered, I say these are species which are, they might be plants, they might be animals, but which are in danger of becoming extinct in the near future.
Okay.
Or they're facing chances of becoming extinct in the near future.
All right.
But critically endangered, this means they are highly threatened. So the percentage is quite high, and if you don't take action in the near future, then they'll be wiped from the face of the earth.
Do we have some that have? Okay, now my brain is doing like so much. Yeah, because now I wanted to ask: are there some that have completely, rendered extinct? But now then my brain is like, the dinosaurs.
Yes. That's always the common example which we
usually use.
But like the
yes.
black rhinos in our country and also in the earth, they are like critically endangered. So we have to take action, and if we don't, then unlike the other endangered species like the Rothschild, then it's easy to lose the black rhinos very soon if we don't take action. And that's why the government and also at the international level, the IUCN, there's so much focus on now to protect them, and they have to be given security over 24 hours so that we can be able to save them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just before we go on a break, because I know we are almost there.
Yeah.
Now we know.
Yeah.
We know who's critically endangered. We know who's just endangered. We know what we are doing wrong and
to
why.
promote
they
the
are-
endangerment.
Yeah. What is causing it.
Yeah.
But what are some of the strategies that are being put together, and what can we do at our own basic levels? Because sometimes you don't have probably the muscle that probably the government has. But what can we do? What is already in place before we get to what we can do? What is already in place to conserve and protect these endangered species? Steve, you could take a go.
First of all, allow me to mention one species that was almost becoming extinct in this country.
All right.
That's
Okay.
the mountain bongo.
Mountain bongo, yes.
Becoming extinct with very few sightings in Aberdare
Yes.
and Mau Forest, but that's their home area. And thank God that we had taken some of them to zoos in the US.
Aha.
And so we had to bring them back.
Oh,
and
so you
begin
took
to
them now, you
rebuild.
brought them back.
We had to bring them back
Okay.
to now begin to rebuild the population. And they came in just at the same time when I was starting my conservation career,
Okay.
about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
And right now I can tell you that the rewilding has been quite successful. And recently again, another 17
Yes.
came and were taken in Meru again
Yes.
to try and increase the numbers. So here is my catch.
Okay.
Losing a species takes it's like a twinkle of the eye. The species
and
is
they're
gone
completely
quick,
gone.
like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But recovering and rebuilding it, it's expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive. And the
Okay.
care. You can imagine shipping 17 in a plane from US
To Kenya. Mm.
Yeah.
then moving them from the airport. That amount of money alone
Yeah.
is huge.
Yes.
Then these are species that are used to a different environment. They have to adapt again.
To the
So the ones that will be rewilded
Yeah.
are the ones that have adapted to the environment, maybe from the third to the fourth generation, not the ones that have come. Those ones are for breeding purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the ones that have adapted are the ones that are rewilded so that they can adapt. That's why I say that's a success story.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
And a good one. I have friends from Nanyuki who really are proud of the mountain
Right?
bongo.
Of the mountain
Yes, they will
bongos.
throw it
Yeah.
in conversations. However,
Yeah.
I think we take a break and run away from the rain. No?
Yes, and then when we come back now, we'll pick up from
Yes.
the question that you asked in terms of now are there policies that there, what is being done,
Yeah.
and then what do we need to do? But there's so much to talk about on the other side. I actually saw a warthog, just crossing over here. Oh, and then there's another one here. Oh, okay. All right. Well, listen, as we get mesmerized, let's take a break and then we'll see you on the other side right after this one.
shilingi 1000.
Toka kwa hiyo sanduku.
Stoki. Rudisha hiyo pesa kwa sanduku namba 10.
Ongeza ifike 50.
Kwa nini?
Anataka ukule popcorn ukitizama runinga, sawa? 100,000 Kenya shillings. Inch TV. Smart 1,000 Kenya shillings. Yes.
In today's world, staying informed is more than just a choice. It's a necessity. Nation.Africa provides you with trusted, insightful, and engaging content to enjoy unlimited articles that go beyond the headlines. Visit Nation.Africa. Browse through the available articles and choose one that interests you. As you scroll down to read the article, you'll encounter a paywall message. To continue reading, please subscribe for full access. If you already have an account, log in using your credentials. If you're a new user, you can either create a new account by clicking register and providing your email address and other required details, or sign in with your Google ID for a quicker, hassle-free registration process. Select the subscription plan that best suits your needs and budget. Provide your payment details as prompted. You can choose between M-Pesa and card payment options. If you have a coupon or promo code, enter it in the designated field to receive a discount. Review your order details and confirm your payment. For M-Pesa, you'll be redirected to your mobile device to enter your PIN. Once your payment is successful, you'll receive a confirmation message. After completing the subscription process, you'll have immediate access to all content on Nation.Africa. Enjoy reading. Nation.Africa. Empower Africa.
Mahali ya kusisimua na yenye mvuto. Kutoka mashinani hadi mijini.
Zaidi ya madaktari 200 wameweza kuanza mgomo wao rasmi.
Serikali ya kaunti inaendeleza miundombinu kuhakikisha kuwa maji inapatikana kwa urahisi.
Ni chimbuko la habari zinazokuhusu wewe.
Kupata ID, sisi tulikuwa kama alias ambaye wamekuwa discriminated.
Michebebe is very nutritious, very chlorophyllous, very delicious, but less malicious.
Bila chuku, bila upendeleo. Taarifa halisi na asilia kutoka kwa wananchi kwa ajili ya wananchi.
Ndilo kero la taka ambao umeshuhudiwa katika mji huu wa matunda.
Kama serikali hawajachukua hiyo hatua, sisi wa Orma tutachukua hatua.
NTV Mashinani. Kila siku ya wiki saa 12:30 jioni hadi saa 1 jioni.
Since you and Mr. Edelberto Martinez provided false information, you're denied the right to adopt.
No. No, please, no, don't take her away.
I love you.
I feel the same.
But what?
There's still another woman between us.
How could you think of asking Luz to marry you? She's my wife, you fool!
2 things, okay? She's not your wife and I'm not afraid of you. How about that, huh?
You're going to regret getting between us.
And you'll regret treating her so badly, wife beater.
You are the one.
Welcome back to your world. And as you can see, Winnie is busy.
I am having the
Eddie.
time of my life.
How is that going?
This is good. I like Eddie. Eddie is very gentle.
Yes.
You see, he's like, give me your hand too. I can take that one as well.
We are at Giraffe Center, really cool. And today we are talking about nature's last stand and what we must do to protect our wildlife. We have Steve here and we have Emmanuel who've engaged us, and we've come to realize that we ignore the little mammals. We've been talking about the big ones. We've done so many things to take care of them, but then there's so many others that we have neglected, do not talk about. Na kuna ingine little silent extinction. Tunanyamaza tu, we move huku blindly. So we're going to be talking about all of that. But before the break, we talked about some of the policies, the strategies, the measures that have been taken, Steve, to protect, conserve the endangered species.
Yes, I must say that I'm proud of Kenya because Kenya has the best laws that are protecting the species within the region. There is no region that has got better laws than Kenya. So as far as policies and laws are concerned, I think Kenya is a lead on that area. And but laws alone cannot protect wildlife.
Yeah,
I think that's something that I must mention.
Yeah.
What we need is laws, and we also need a very good culture, and we also need a well-sensitized population to understand that wildlife actually belongs to the people of Kenya. It doesn't belong to KWS. And so as far as laws are concerned, we have the best. If you are caught either violating any of those laws, the offenses are also very high.
Yes.
You cannot compare them with the Forest Act, with the Fisheries Act that controls marine. They are very high. You literally have to accept to serve a sentence in prison than pay. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
If you are caught with illegal ivory,
yes,
it's not anything less than 5 million.
Hey.
It doesn't matter how big it is, as long as it's ivory. The penalties are very, very high.
Yeah.
If you are caught with bushmeat, again, it's also high.
Yeah.
It's almost to the tune of 40,000. Now, if you catch somebody in the rural areas and charge him 40,000, who can raise 40,000 when we are struggling with school fees?
That's true.
So we've got very, very robust laws that have complied with also international practices, particularly CITES, just to ensure that any illegal activity does not drive species to extinction. And I think that's a goal of conservation, is to conserve so that species are not driven to extinction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I like the fact that you really pointed out very clearly and said laws alone cannot protect, the animals from extinction. So really we need, it's sort of like a joint effort, yes, the laws, but even us as a people and, conservation, conservancies as well. And that's the thing I wanted to ask, because you see there's conservancies and then there's
KWS,
and all those things. and I know, yes, the goal is to protect, the animals, but sometimes we also hear a lot of conversations around, yes, there's also the business side, of it. So then how do we balance, to make sure that, yes, the goal is there to protect, all the animals, because like I said, just recently you translocated, I was about to say transferred, translocated some of the giraffes, So yeah, so how do we balance? And then Steve, for you, I think I'll ask. So we see a lot of growth, and especially in numbers for elephants, right, for Jumbos. But at the same time, we know. Remember how we talked about human wildlife, conflict, because they can also be very destructive, right? So the question is, do we focus more on the elephants? Do you feel that we focus more on protecting them, that we've forgotten the others? That is why they are endangered and critically endangered. But before you answer that, yes, Emmanuel, how then do we balance to make sure that all are protected? It doesn't matter ni wapi wako.
I'd say, I know the Kenya Wildlife Act 2013, I think it gives prominence to community-based wildlife conservation.
All right.
And the future of wildlife conservation is about collaborations.
Okay.
It's also about innovations and partnership.
Okay. Yeah.
And for your case, remember, the only 10% of our total service area in the country is
all right. You want to use mine?
Areas. Yes. Under the protected areas. And 60 or 75 to 80% of the wildlife is found outside the protected areas. So then who has a big stake when it comes to the future of the wildlife? And I say either community members, and that has been given prominence through the Wildlife Act 2013. And we've seen the growth of community-based wildlife conservancies. And these conservancies, they are helping to create the connections between different protected areas, sometimes also to open up space, what we call the dry season grazing areas for wildlife. And we say if it pays, it stays. So if the community members can directly or indirectly benefit from wildlife, then they'd be willing to support the conservation of wildlife. Unlike the odd philosophy in conservation of, fences and fines.
Yes.
And this one, I think it has proved in the southern African countries and even in Kenya, in areas like in Amboseli, Masai Mara, where even in Laikipia, where community members have been given power or responsibility to utilize wildlife, indirectly through the ecotourism projects, then it has shown the growth in wildlife numbers in the country.
See. Oh, interesting. Yeah. And also empowering the communities around. Wasiseme hii imekuja kwa compound yangu kwa hivyo ni yangu.
Yes.
Okay, and Steve, are we focusing more on the jumbos and forgetting these other ones, and also what would you say their destructive nature, which sometimes might anger even the communities around them? So how do we help, first of all, the communities with that, but also on the question, do we focus mostly on them?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me pick from where Emmanuel left it.
Okay.
Our protected areas are 8% of our landmass. Community conservancies are 12%. And that's where the 65 to 75% is.
Comes in. Okay.
Now you can imagine with those kind of statistics where the problem is.
Yes.
All right? The problem is because you've got the highest numbers where people are. Then the question is, why the elephant? And I think we've tried to get economists to model the real value of an elephant when it's alive, not when it's
not
dead.
when it's dead.
We can't quantify it.
Yeah.
Why? Because the elephant contributes to what you call ecosystem services that you cannot quantify.
Yeah.
The elephant, being a charismatic species, also takes care of other smaller species that you cannot quantify. Allow me to bring another element. And this one's engineers don't brag about it. The road from Mai Mahiu to Nairobi was actually built on an elephant corridor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because elephants are very, very charismatic and very interesting animals. They
Very
want to
intelligent
go, they
too,
climb.
right?
If you go to Aberdares and you watch them,
where
there is a road is where an elephant path was. And it is the safest path.
Yeah.
All right? So we used to have elephants all the way from Aberdare up to Suswa. Then they disappeared because of infrastructure.
Yeah.
So the reason why we cannot quantify the real value of an elephant
Yeah.
is because of that. Now, an elephant covers more than 100 kilometers in a day. So you can imagine it eats and ingests as it eats their seeds.
Yes.
That's why you say you cannot quantify the ecological services of an elephant.
Wow.
It disperses as it moves. But at the same time, it's a problem animal. It's a problem.
Yes.
So is the problem equivalent to the value of the
Well, we could build fences.
Exactly. So we could build fences. We could teach people the behavior of an elephant to understand it.
Yes.
And we can teach people to coexist with the elephant rather than telling them, let's keep the elephant in a place. Now, most of our community conservancies and the areas where elephants go are not fenced. They are not.
Now that's the problem.
So now we are sensitizing communities how to build water in such a way that if an elephant comes, it doesn't destroy your tank. So build your tank in such a way that you protect it, but also have some water additional somewhere where animals can graze. In community areas, livestock graze during the day. Then wildlife come at night.
During the night,
Those are the kind of coexistence that we are now modeling with the communities through the conservancies. Because we must coexist.
I'm just curious, is there a specific type of fence that is advisable for the communities around?
No?
Right?
Not with an elephant.
Not
with an elephant.
I don't think there is.
You need a multiplicity. You'll need a fence. You'll need a trench. You will need chili. A combination of several things.
Oh, chili. Okay.
Yeah, in Chile. Just the smell of chili.
They're like, not here.
And by the way, you also need a line of beehives. Because the sound of bees also repels elephants.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, so there are all those strategies, depending on what you want to do with the area where you don't want elephants to come in.
Yes.
There are technologies and there are tools that have been tested by Save the Elephants that we can share. Over 100 tools to ensure that an elephant doesn't get. But if you just grow sunflower, in a stretch of 2 meters. That's enough. That's enough. The elephants will not come there.
Yeah.
Because sunflower attracts bees.
Yes.
And the sound of a bee just makes an elephant run
Wow.
away.
But I beg to maybe probe further into that because the education, I'm learning some of these things for the first time today.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering the role of education of all of these things to the people in those communities and maybe even in our schools. How is that going? Is it happening? What are the strides that we've made when it comes to education and conserving our species? I keep looking at Eddie because
he's minding his business. It's like, can I join in the conversation?
I will leave Emmanuel, but allow me just to mention something about education.
Yes.
My heart sankens. Because what I'm sharing should actually be taught in our curriculum.
Yes.
I'm hearing about it today.
But it's
some
not
of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are a country that is rich with biodiversity.
Yeah.
Over 25 species and over 7,000 plants. So I'm talking about mammal species and 25 in this country.
Okay.
And 400 of them are endangered.
Wow.
400 are endangered.
Okay.
So we are talking about the big ones and the small ones.
Yes.
Too.
We need to get this in our curriculum system. That's why many Kenyans don't have this information.
Yeah.
Only very few have, and those who've been able to access have. But I can tell you, communities are rich with indigenous knowledge too.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
That has worked.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we don't have to research outside the indigenous knowledge. Let's research within the indigenous knowledge and sensitize the public so that Kenya can be known as a country that conserves biodiversity without the gun.
Yes.
Conservation is not about the gun. No. It's about coexistence, and you understand it. If I understand you, the way you are and your temperament, I'll be able to endure.
You know what? I feel like we should have that written on a T-shirt and give it to every Kenyan.
That's true.
You know?
That's
we
true.
don't need guns.
Very
We don't
powerful.
need guns when we're talking
Maybe
about conservation.
we can
But
add
yes,
on to
Emmanuel.
Okay. I know I write on that because Giraffe Center, we are big in terms of environmental education or education for sustainability.
Yes.
Because everybody has a stake. But sometimes I don't like talking about ignorance, but I talk about low awareness levels when it comes to wildlife conservation.
All right.
So if we can be able to train or to teach our young people from a tender age, then they grow with the right perceptions, attitudes towards the way they relate with nature, the way they utilize resources from nature, and through that they become responsible, citizens. Even from Sunday school, because I think the act of conservation borrows so much from, Genesis. And again, based on our African teachings, in most of the communities, they know a powerful being, that is God, gave them, or Allah gave them, the land to till, but they were given responsibility to take care of it.
That's true.
Yeah.
So we use and take care, I think, and that's all about conservation. We try, I know we don't have a national curriculum on environmental education or education for sustainability. We have a strategy on ESD, and we also have, a policy document on ESD, which sits at the Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
But although the current curriculum provides for some topics where we can be able to integrate environmental aspect, it's not being given, prominence. So as Giraffe Center, what we're doing, I know students come here for free. We don't charge them so that they can come and learn about nature. And it's a good way to help them come up close with the giraffes and help them to connect with nature. And probably that's what will click in their minds, and in the future they would like to be people working in wildlife or people who support the government efforts towards conservation. We're also training teachers for free. I know WCK, Wildlife Clubs of Kenya, Elsamere Field Study Center, Lewa Downs, they're also doing that because we are helping to train them on how they can be able to integrate environmental aspect into the school curriculum. And we have seen in many areas this one change the people's mindsets toward the way they treat wildlife, or even moving away from conflicts to coexistence.
Yeah.
If you see an elephant, then how do you behave? How do you react?
That would be helpful.
Yes, and the elephant, you know, like the wildlife conflict, especially with the elephants,
yes,
it doesn't happen throughout the year.
Yeah. Okay.
It's more seasonal. It's more seasonal, and they move towards a certain direction, you know, guided or based on seasons of the year. So if people have that knowledge, then they can easily be able to overcome. They know like what kind of land use practices are more compatible with wildlife conservation.
Oh, wow.
So if I'm living in an elephant kind of area, then I don't need to focus on crops which are preferred by elephants. So from what Steve mentioned, then I can be able to tap the rich indigenous or modern knowledge on how I can be able to overcome, you know, the elephant coming to my farm to destroy my crops.
I like that. I mean, we all know that saying, children are the best teachers, right? Because you tell them something or you show them something and they would hold that forever. They'll even tell you, teacher said, don't.
Yes, that is true.
So I understand when you say we need to really put this out there. So what are some of the innovative ways that, say, Giraffe Center has employed to make sure that, yes, in as much as Rothschild is, I don't want to say your favorite, but it's dominant here. What are some of the innovative ways that you have, employed to make sure that, you protect them together with so many other endangered species out there that say, we can borrow, say, as a country.
Right. People tend to know Giraffe Center much for the tourism aspect, but I think for your case, environmental education for conservation is our core function.
All right.
And then we have three objectives. I think providing a safe breeding ground for the Rothschild giraffe so that we can translocate them back to the world. We have the nature enterprise for fundraising, and this is not for profit because we support conservation of other endangered species in the country. And we give like 10% of our total income goes to support other conservation organizations who are promoting or who are dealing with endangered species in Kenya. We've done support with, I'll talk about rhino hack because of the elephants of Aberdares. We've supported different organizations, including Kenya Wildlife Service, either to drill water within some of the protected areas, to support some of their, especially now the giraffe conservation strategy, because Steve said, other than the Rothschild, which has been always considered to be endangered, the other two, the lenticular giraffes and the Maasai, they have also been put in the same category. So together with the Kenya Wildlife Service, the Giraffe Conservation Foundation, Giraffe Mana or the Safari Collection, and other interested giraffe stakeholders were able to come up with the first giraffe conservation strategy in this country. We're just about to launch, or the Kenya Wildlife Service together with the interested partners in giraffes, they're just about to launch the second strategy, which guides the conservation of the different giraffe species within the country. And also we've been very influential when it comes to CITES. We've given money through the African Network for Animal Welfare, to train our country prosecutors and judges so that they can be able to know how to interpret the law when it comes to the human wildlife crimes and the like, and it has beared some fruits since then.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
Steve, do you want to speak more again, still on partnerships, but also on innovation, even as we strive to really protect the endangered and the critically endangered wildlife?
Thank you. I love talking about innovation from African solutions, not outside.
All right.
One innovation is the lion lights to deter lion predation. This is something that was tested by a young man from Kajiado here. But now we've forgotten that actually is the one who invested, just with a small thing like a torch.
Yes.
And then now we've perfected it because of all the solar gadgets that are there. You can actually put something and lights flickering at night, and it will confuse a lion or a leopard, and they will not be able to come. So that's one innovation that has worked using other technologies that are there. The other innovation is indigenous knowledge. At times we criticize communities because of their actions, but when you look at what they take, it's very, very small compared to what you are protecting with a gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to look for a win-win situation where we bring communities in and understand some of the cultural practices that would allow them to access a resource and control it in that manner so that then the communities value it. Remember, I'm talking about moving from the gun to allowing the resource to coexist with people. The other innovation is actually the use of social media. We can use social media to disseminate a lot of information. What Emmanuel has talked about, what Giraffe Center has done, is an entire complete syllabus that can be taught in 3 subjects.
Okay, not just one.
Yes.
3.
Not just one,
Wow.
or even more than that.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about the recognition of where you are and what's around you,
Yes.
and your responsibility of stewardship, that's just one of it. Then there is now the role of all these other crops. That's where the finance now comes in. We talk about now nature-based solutions. Now, nature-based solutions are eco-friendly and complement conservation efforts. So, for example, why should I grow maize in an area where I know an elephant will come one day at night and eat it
finish the
completely?
entire acreage.
I'd rather grow sunflower.
Yes.
I'd rather grow something that an elephant will not come and destroy. That's innovation as far as I'm concerned. All right, because I minimize the conflict.
Yeah.
Final, as far as innovation is concerned, is technology. We are so exposed to a lot of technology that even right now, if it's called Jack.
Joe. Sorry, this is Eddie. Sorry, Joe is a small guy. Yeah.
Joe
A small guy. Yes.
If Eddie is released out in the wild,
Yes.
and KWS will tell you this story, they will put a notch in his ear and they will monitor everywhere he goes. And that's how we are able to help our engineers when they are constructing roads to guide them and tell them elephants pass here.
Yeah.
So if you are thinking about building a road here, it's either you go under, create for us an under, or you go up.
Yes.
But don't deny the elephant that ability to cross.
To go, yeah.
And the same thing is happening also with the rhinos. As they translocate them, they are also monitoring. Remember, you cannot limit animals to a small area.
Yeah.
They are big. A lion, for example, the territory of a lion can be up to about 30 kilometers square. Just one lion.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the reason why we have lions outside Nairobi National Park, because Nairobi National Park can only host one lion as the male dominant in the park.
What?
So where do the others go?
Oh, Lord.
They are out.
Yes.
No wonder we see them
So
when
that's
we
why
are on
Yeah. So I just wanted to add something on technology.
It does make a lot of sense.
Yes.
Go ahead, you wanted to add something on tech.
Sorry,
Yes.
you don't finish. And then
Chime in.
Right then. So I'll say, like, even for us, I think you don't have to fence like the entire southern corridor or like the way they did, you know, the SGR. But through technology, they were able to know exactly where do elephants or where do lions usually cross.
Yes.
And you asked that question, like even for us here.
Yeah.
Like the water, how do they find their way in and out? But we know exactly, if you can monitor them, you know which routes they use. So you don't have to leave an entire, you know, fence line open, but a small portion where they can cross.
pass. It's interesting because...
No, with the population, like we did the population surveys and we were together with the Kenya Wildlife Service and Giraffe Conservation Foundation, we were the first one to estimate the giraffe population using the Wild ID. Where you're using a camera to take the photos.
Yes.
You use a software on your computer.
Okay.
Yes, to run the images
Yes.
and it's able to match, you know, the individual giraffes correctly.
Okay.
So you don't have, like, we know when we were in school, we were taught about capture, you mark, you release, you recapture again, and now you can do the estimates. But now using technology, you only need a camera. And that's also part of trying to promote citizen science. So anybody can be able to do this. And there are so many, you know, apps or application online.
Yeah.
I don't have to know this plan, but I can take a photo and post it there, and someone will correctly identify it, or the app will help me to identify without having to refer to an expert.
Yeah.
So it's a plus, and the way we are moving, even in terms of fundraising, I think that's a big plus.
Much more.
The other one that I wanted to talk about, as far as bushmeat is concerned, is you can actually do a DNA analysis. We call it DNA sequencing. And KWS will speak to you more about it when you have an opportunity with them. So if I want to find where meat is sold, and whether it's meat from the wild, I just buy the samples and analyze. And you can tell me this is coming from an animal, antelope species. Yeah. That is here. That's where we should be investing on.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where we should be. So there's a lot we can do to conserve the species without the gun.
Watu wa Nairobi tunakula nyama ya nini na nini na nini. Now you know who to talk to. Now we know who to talk to.
That's true.
Wow.
You know, it's interesting when I was listening about the technology that recently I learned that people from all over the world can watch elephants in the morning at the Olpajeta Conservancy as they take a walk. Like, you know, Nikiamka 5 and I tune in. I will be able to watch them because they will pass here every day.
Yes.
So you don't even need to come here to see it. They've created a platform where wherever you are, you are able to partake in Kenya's
you can.
beautiful nature.
Yeah.
And just to add on, Winnie, when we were on a break, and this was also mentioned in the car by Jane.
Yeah.
About Uganda's pride, the crane. And we will talk about that after this break, so don't go far. We are at the Giraffe Center. We're talking about endangered species and what it is that you and I can do to protect, conserve our wildlife. We'll be right back after this break.
My name is Tala Ongwa, the captain for the Nairobi City Thunder. Catch me on Spot On this Monday. Let's go!
Aston Villa were one of the busiest clubs in the January transfer window, bolstering their squad with 5 new arrivals. In addition to the permanent signings of Andres Garcia and Donyell Malen, Villa also landed Axel Disasi, Marcus Rashford and Marco Asensio on loan. And it took little time for Rashford and Asensio to strike up a partnership in the attacking third, combining to devastating effect.
I want my brother completely out of the family business.
Liam is the best fit for the company.
I think ini through personal mametupatia.
Liam, ayuko. Wacha kupiga hapa, utamsha madam.
All this is because of you. Now wake up. Wake up and clear your mess.
No, ma.
Tired of endless scrolling? Say goodbye to the chaos. Introducing the all-new Business Daily website. Experience seamless navigation. Immerse yourself in a world of more videos and more podcasts. Discover more with our enhanced home pages. Engage like never before with our interactive tools. Join us and elevate your reading experience today. Business Daily. More possibilities.
Looking for some mehe faster than you can say spill the tea? Well, I've got you covered.
Con Entertainment, you know, we already got the vibe. So I got the beat, my moves ni kwako.
Join us for Chocha where the games are wild. Kiss my dumb, right? Gashagwa, Kindiki, Sakaja.
And of course, kama kuna story inspiring ama ngoma noma, send in tutakuwakilisha kama kawa kama dawa.
Catch Beats and Buzz
only on NTV. Because it's gonna be mad and crazy.
Nakulike mekuma kama tattoo.
Welcome back to your world. And we are being very mindful today. We're being very mindful. We are learning what you and I need to do to conserve, protect our wildlife. And it's not just about the big ones, because we've established, we've done really, really great things. Kenya has made great strides, but there's still a lot that needs to be done. And today we are learning all those things that Emmanuel and Steve said we needed to be taught in school.
Like the conservation is not about guns.
No, it's not.
That one we want in a t-shirt, not to, but everybody in the country.
Yes, yes.
So that we go around talking about it. But there's a question that you were asking, right? About Uganda's
crane, the bird. And I am shocked because Winnie was like, do you know? I was like, what do you mean? It's on their flag. It better not go anywhere. Steve, indulge us. What's happening with the crane?
That's a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And many people think that the crane is only found in Uganda. Unfortunately not.
Yeah.
It's evenly distributed across Africa.
Yes.
So even in Kenya, we have
They
the crane.
are, yes. Ushago kwetu is Ziko.
What attracts the crane? It's a wetlands.
Yes.
They love the wetlands more. And that's why you find them comfortable and more habitable. Unfortunately, in Kenya, we've destroyed most of our wetlands.
Oh, no.
We are drying our wetlands for agriculture. We are drying our wetlands for urbanization and development and all sorts of things. And we are driving the crane species almost to extinction.
Yeah.
So that's a sad bit about the conservation of the crane. And so what the government did recently was to launch a conservation program to protect the crane. And it's more about the habitat for the crane, which is the wetlands. We want to secure the wetlands. We've also had the Cabinet Secretary for Environment putting people that have encroached onto wetlands on notice. And I want to echo that and tell anybody eyeing the wetland, you are on notice.
Yeah.
Because that's a critical habitat for not only the Uganda crane, but also all the birds. And I say all the birds, I mean literally all
the birds. Yeah.
We've spoken about endangered mammals, but we've not discussed about endangered birds and discussed about endangered marine resource. Because there are also a species there that are endangered. Allow me just to mention some within the marine sector. We have the doodle, which is a big fish.
Okay.
All right? It's endangered right now.
Okay, why?
Because of fishing and the kind of nets that we use. So when you go to the marine space, it's a little bit different because you must go to the allowed fishing area, but then now the kind of fishing gear that we use literally picks everything.
Oh, yes, yes.
And there are certain areas where they are designated for big fishing vessels, and you find them also coming to where subsistence fishermen are supposed to fish. Now they pick everything.
Yeah.
Illegal activities happening all around.
Yeah.
And several other shark species found in Kenya that are actually endangered. In fact, the shark species also now are protected.
Yes.
Then we have the dolphins. Do you know we've got dolphins in Kenya?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
We've got the dolphins.
Yes.
They are migratory, again, season. You don't see them every day.
Yes.
And several other migratory species are there. You see them in Kenya, you see them in Tanzania, Madagascar. All those are shared ecosystems with shared species within the Indian Ocean sea space.
Yeah.
Then we come to the birds, the grey parrot. Those ones you find people selling them on the streets.
Yes.
It's illegal.
Yeah. You need a license.
Okay. I doubt they do have licenses.
We would have found you.
The parrots, you need a license to have it.
Yeah.
Because we want you to benefit, but we also want you to have a license that guides how you benefit in the right way without subjecting the grey parrot into trouble. Now, it's illegally trafficked within Kenya.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's Kenyans.
Yes.
Inatoka DRC Congo, inakuja ikienda
Kenya ikienda. Okay.
Pali. So Kenya then now becomes what we call a trafficking point, and that's why through the program that Emmanuel was talking about, one of the outcomes was putting scanners at the entry and exit points.
Yeah.
So if you try to get into the airport now with anything illegal with wildlife, I can assure you 99% of the chances you will be caught there by the scanners.
Yeah.
And that is what has helped Kenya actually protect them, including also the pet. So the crane is not just an important bird in Uganda because it appears in their flag, but I can tell you several other African countries also have cranes, and they are also migratory by nature.
Interesting.
Very important.
You see, you mentioned about fish as well, and I think that's a very interesting conversation that we can actually dive in a separate show, because I watched this documentary, I think on Netflix, about fishing, and they're talking about how certain species are now, I want to say quote unquote hunted because of their fin and their tail, and so I think we can literally just talk about it and then understand how then we should we protect fish. But I can see your time is far much spent, and we need to finish this part of the conversation and then dive into the next conversation. But then again, now you see a lot of people say economy, economy, So how, I mean, from your perspective, how do you see economic pressures sort of like impacting not only tourism but also efforts in conserving the endangered species? I'm going to start with you, and then Steve, you can take up that too. Yeah.
Okay. It's becoming quite tough.
Yeah.
And I remember recently the new president of the U.S., Donald Trump. He put on hold, the funding through USAID.
Yes.
And majority of, conservancies and other conservation organizations, they were relying on
those funds.
Yes. Yeah. So what does it mean to the future? So if, their covers are drained, then will they be able now to take care of the wildlife? No. And also, again, the number of tourists coming in. So if the numbers go down, sometimes it can also trigger, other interests, because there are people who have been employed in the tourism sector or the conservancies who are relying on wildlife, then they might be enticed to get into another illegal activities, to try and benefit directly from wildlife. So it might affect us.
It might.
Yeah. So we need the numbers, because tourism, it's not only about money, but I talk about sustainable tourism practices.
Yes.
And I said, if it pays, it stays. And again, it must also benefit me. That's part of now the nature. And again, it must also be socially acceptable to the people.
Well, if it pays,
it stays.
In your t-shirt.
Let's not talk about
it. Let's talk about it. Right, Steve?
Conservation doesn't come cheap.
Yeah.
Let me just guarantee you that. It's an expensive venture. The amount of resources, the amount of human expertise and technology required right now in conservation is expensive. However, the resources are there. They can be generated within conservation initiatives themselves.
All right.
So we have to diversify and look at nature-based solutions. We have to talk more to the private sector for them also to come up with eco-friendly mechanisms within their everyday life. Particularly, I'm talking to corporates that rely on water. Put your focus on conserving the catchment areas, because if you don't have water, your business shuts down.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I'm talking about the corporate sector that relies on nature products. If you don't invest and do it sustainably, your business will shut down. So that's why I talk about nature-based solutions. Think cleverly how you're going to sustain, and that's why the private sector become very important. Private sector have been missing in the space of conservation, and now we are pushing and getting to their space and asking them to invest. Unfortunately, we need to skew the curve. Most of the funding comes from outside for conservation. Yet the resources are within. We need to tap the resources from within to conserve.
Interesting. All right.
Even our government should allocate more resources to conservation. Because when we take pride of conserving our natural heritage and our asset, then we don't need outsiders to do it.
That's true.
We can do it, and we can take pride in that. So conservation can also generate other ways in terms of use. And already we have some acceptable uses, like you can raise ostrich and sell ostrich meat. The quail came, but unfortunately all of us went into quail. I don't know what happened.
Nobody's talking about that.
I don't know what happened, but they are interesting, innovative, like Giraffe Center generates, but it doesn't invest. It puts back into conservation. You get it? So we need to have so many of these entities coming up, whether for profit or for non-profit, but also put some of it back into conservation. Finally, the Public Benefits Organization Act has now created an opportunity for the private sector to support conservation initiatives, and they can enjoy something from KRA.
Okay.
Up to about 15% of your net profit if you put, it reduces your tax obligations with KRA. So there are interesting opportunities that are coming up, including also what right now we are thinking about sustainable conservation financing mechanisms that are in place. So the Wildlife Trust Fund is one among the many of them that you'll be hearing shortly.
Oh, wow. Hey, do we put a pause? Yeah. Because clearly we need 5 hours. We need hours to have this conversation, but really for now, allow us to put a pause, put a pineapple, and then we'll have a separate conversation in terms of now the future. What I mean, do you want to say it in like 10 seconds? If you promise me to keep 10 seconds, yam Zungu, not 10 seconds, yam Kenya. The future of conservation, okay? If you can do that in 10 seconds, and then we take a break. What do you say?
The future of conservation lies with the local people.
Okay.
So I say it's not the government. We have to work together because we are the power, we are the resources, we are the drive. And if we can be able to support that, then I'm assured, and everybody in this country is assured of, taking care of the wildlife and also benefiting from wildlife. And we also save it for the future generations to come.
I like that. Okay. Powerful. Steve, 7.5 seconds.
The future of conservation is on co-management.
Yes.
Let's encourage co-management at all levels so that everybody feels like I'm participating.
Yes.
Not at the exclusion of everyone. Finally, let's promote coexistence. That's the long-term ultimate solution that will benefit generations.
All right. Well, Steve Vitella, CEO, Conservation Alliance of Kenya, and Emmanuel Ngumbi, who's the Manager, Conservation Education and Tourism Programs right here at the Giraffe Center. We say thank you to both of you for your time and for educating us.
And hosting
together with
us.
The masses and hosting us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's take that break. And of course, when we come back, we'll talk about our conversation on climate change and its impact on water, because that actually came up from the conversation in this first end a few minutes, hour of the show. So let's take that break. We'll be right back with more right here on Your World.
Thank you.